Hi everyone, welcome to the craft of the month at Scranton Library, and it's January, the start of a new year. We're going to make this cute little 3D calendar. This is out of paper, so we're going to get started. You're going to have 2 pieces of paper. If you look carefully, they are different months. You're going to need to cut out both of them. I'm going to shift the camera a little so you can watch. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors and cut. Make sure that you cut the outside lines, and you can see there's tiny little here. That's for, you're going to fold and score that, so don't cut that off. You want to do the outside frame there. So I'm just going to start by trimming in a rough, large area, and then I will go back and get all the edges in nice and neat. And I should mention that it helps if you have your supplies set up ahead of time. This is a pretty simple craft, so your supplies would be some glue, and the regular old Elmer's works well. If you happen to have tacky glue, which is a little bit stronger, you can do that too. Even a hot glue gun, if it's on low heat, you could do that, because this is heavy cardstock paper. With the hot glue gun, you just want to be careful, as always, that you don't get burned. But really, the regular Elmer's glue that you have in your house will work just fine. And if it needs to be reinforced, you could, at the end, go back with some Scotch tape. Okay, so I cut the main edge, and now I'm trimming the little pieces here, being sure to leave the cream colored border around where we're going to later use as the tabs to fold in. So I'm going to pause it and take the time to do all of that. So I wanted to point out that when you cut the one sheet that has the months of September, August, July, November, December, and October, there are not as many of the tabs for folding. So you'll see, like over here near September, there's a regular straight edge. We're going to cut right along on that straight edge. Okay. So don't worry, not everyone has that. This one that I cut first pretty much has those extra tabs all the way around. This is the one that has January through June. But when you cut the second half, they don't all have those extra tabs. So just cut along the main black lines. And I'm going to finish doing that, and we'll come back in a minute. Okay, so now I have cut out my 2 halves, and I had a little mishap there. So I'm just going to tape that a little bit. Accidentally cut a little off the line.
but that happens. So if you do anything like that, you can just modify with a little piece of Scotch tape, which is always good to have on hand. And we have our 2 half of the calendars that now we have to work on assembling so we can get to our cube. Well, not a cube. So we're going to find the little cream colored edges there, and each of those we're going to fold back right along on that line and crease it. So I folded that back, and I'm just going to rotate around and keep doing that. I'm actually going to lay it down. It's a little easier to do on the table. I'm just checking because some of them don't have all those tabs, like November doesn't, and that's okay. Just leave it. And the others, I'm folding them back if they have it. September has one, so I'm going to take that and fold it. And on this one, I only have left to do July. Okay. Now I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to do the same for this half, which has a lot more tabs. And we're just going to keep going round and round, folding all those tabs down. Okay, so now that we have all of the tabs folded down, you can see them on the reverse side of our 2 halves, we have an optional step. If you have an X-Acto knife, you can lightly score the pieces that you folded down, and that just helps so that the glue attaches a little bit more. This is cardstock. If it were regular paper, we would rip it, and we would not want to do that. This is optional. You don't have to do it, but if you want to make sure it stays glued down just a little bit better, you can do that. I'm just going to scratch like some little X's right along, only on the folded down flaps. And it should just feel a little rough. You don't want to press hard because that would poke down through the paper. So I'm just going to lightly go around and score our 2 halves. Now it's time to glue this together. So I'm going to take my glue, and I have just a paper towel down just to protect my work surface. All these little tabs that you gently folded down, and you might have scored if you had an X-Acto knife, we are going to apply a little glue, and we're just going to go around one by one and start to piece it together. And as you do this, you're going to it'll make like a bowl out of this one and kind of a separate one out of here. It helps first if we fold and crease this like flower petals, kind of, just so that it's going to fold in more easily when we're assembling. I'm going to fold and crease along all these lines, the different colors. So you can tell that just by folding in, we're already, even before I start to glue, it's kind of making its own little, it's like a little cup or a little bowl. I'm going to start with the one that had more of the tabs, and that had the January. in the center. And I'm going to put the January in the bottom and fold it up like this. And I'm going to go around and start gluing the tabs like that. Just these little side ones. And the top ones we'll leave open for now. So we're just going to glue like this to here, this to there. We're going to start doing that. So having the January as your main one, I'm going to just pick one and start. I have a tab right here, April. So I'm going to glue the April to the March. I have a paper towel in case we get too much glue that globs out. So I just put my little bit of glue on, and there we go. And then I'm going to press it. And a little extra glue came. Press and hold. Okay, and now I'm going to glue the February inside to the March tab. So I'm going to add a little glue there. And hold that. Wipe the excess glue with the paper towel. Just to hold it for a few seconds to let it harden. And then I'm going to go around and glue the June and February. Putting a little bit of glue on the February white tab. And then I'm going to glue together the other side of June with May. And this one's popping open, so I'm just going to take a minute and hold and press these together. Hold them there. So now we have this little half. And as you can see, we still have all these upper tabs. And some of these are popping open. I'm going to go back and press them a little harder. And I'm going to give this a few minutes to dry. And I'm going to start working on gluing the tabs down on this second half. Okay, so now I have this little, it's like a little bowl or cup with January on the bottom, and it's all glued together except for the little top flaps. And I have my other half, and this one I have left a little more flexible. I haven't glued down August or September. Just, it helps so that when you're assembling it, it's a little easier to maneuver. If you're having trouble with your glue sticking, you can try a hot glue gun. I would recommend doing it on low setting with disposable nitrile gloves on so you don't get a burn, and just being careful because the paper is thin, hot glue can burn and can get stringy too. So once you have your two halves, we're going to, let's just take one, doesn't really matter, and take the one with the January in the bottom is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it down, take my other half, and just kind of twist it to see how it kind of fits together. There's no real rhyme or reason. I was just rotating it a little bit too because I didn't want the two blue ones right next to each other. So kind of like two halves of a puzzle. We've just sort of loosely fitting it together. See how it fits like that. And then the tricky part is gluing this together to 3D shape. So the part where you left the open August and September, I would suggest doing that last. You want to leave a little flexibility here so that's easier to glue. So I'm going to rotate it, and I'm just going to start with November. Doesn't really matter where you start, but you see how my November is right there, resting on top of the tabs from the other months. So I'm just going to put glue on here and glue on here, and I'm going to press it onto November. So I'm going to take my glue, shake it up a little, those two tabs, take my November, and like I said, you don't have to start in November. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to just lay that on. I'm going to kind of reach inside and press it. A little easier right now because we're just starting. I'm going to press and hold it. As we glue more, it does get a little trickier. So just going to hold that for a couple of seconds. And then I'm going to just glue the next side down. Over here we have July being glued on to March. I'm just going to put a little glue here. Like I said, the order that you glue them, the months that are next to there, does not necessarily matter too much. It's kind of wherever you see that it can fit together in the order that makes sense to you. I'm just going to rotate around, and next would be April. We're going to fold that under and glue. I'm just going to keep going around. Okay, so I have glued around pretty much the whole thing, and all I have left would be this top flap, which happens to be August, and don't worry if yours is not August, that's okay. It's easier to leave either August or September, one of the ones that does not have the other flaps. See, this is just loose, doesn't have the extra ones here. And if you can kind of look inside, I'm going to pull, these were folded down, I'm going to pull them up just a little bit instead of fold it in. I'm going to, just so it's a little easier. The last step would be to put glue on these and then fold it in and carefully press and hold it. And then we are all done. So we're going to glue the final little bits. These calendars are so cute. You can give it to somebody. You can put it on your desk, a table. Good for a kid that's maybe has trouble concentrating, because when you're done with it, you can toss it around too. You can just press that and hold it right there for a little bit. And there you go. So I actually have two now. What you can do while we let this one dry, when you're all done, you can clean it up. If there's a little dry glue, you can scrape it off. If there's any that are popping up any sides, you can just take tape, Scotch tape, and reinforce, or you can take your tape and make like a little tape loop and stick it under there. So I'm just going to reinforce this one side right here, my piece of tape, and there you go. Nice little calendar, ready to enjoy. I hope you had fun, and we will see you next month.